Hi everyone, I'm Lisa Byrne.
And I'm Lori Gambacorda, and we are the co-founders of E.P.I.C, Empowering People, Inspiring Community. And welcome to our E.P.I.C Experts Interviews. And we are delighted to have our guest today, Marcie Draheim. She is an animal communicator, a Reiki master, and the founder of the Coyote Freedom Method. Welcome, Marcie.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Marcie. Could you give us a brief description of your business?
Sure. My business involves many modalities to create balance, understanding, and relief for pets as well as their pet parents. That involves intuitive animal communication to give and lend a voice to some of the more misunderstood. And I do various forms of energetic body work. I am a Reiki master, and I do white wolf energy emerging, which is a modality that uses the meridians or nadas of the energetic body system to remove blockages and clear old trauma from the cellular level. And then I have founded what I call the Coyote Freedom Method. And that's something I've been doing since I was a child. I didn't understand what I was doing at the time, but it is a balancing system. So as I lower anxiety, it automatically raises calmness. As I lower inflammation, it raises healing possibilities. So it kind of just balances things out.
Awesome.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the services you offer? You know, if a typical person were to be seeking you out, what are some of the things they might come to you for?
Okay. A lot of people come for intuitive animal communication, and that can be broken into 30-minute sessions or 60-minute sessions. And that is an opportunity for us to work together, myself, the animal or animals, and the person, to understand what's going on with behaviors or changes in their environment, such as perhaps a new baby came into the picture, or sometimes an older child will go off to college and there'll be some behavioral changes that may be unwanted for the humans. And it's to understand kind of what's going on so we can brainstorm together to create a solution to where everyone's happy. A lot of that is communication. It's a dialogue. I often have to negotiate or be the negotiator between the pet and the human to find a compromise to make things roll more smoothly. So that's one of them. The energetic work I can do hands-on in Durango or from a distance, and that is often used for anxiety, pain, post-surgery, things of that nature. And those two also work together very, very nicely for new rescues, to assimilate them into the home, to lower their anxiety with the energy work, and communicate with them about what their past trauma was, how it affects them, and their emotions that need to be balanced and fulfilled to eliminate unwanted behaviors on both parts, because it's very uncomfortable for them to have the anxiety also. Within that, I also have other packages. I have a post-surgical create your recovery room at home package, and this is designed to set you up in your home, virtually or hands-on, to create a very safe space for the first few days after surgery. What to expect, you know, there can be drooling, there can be elimination in their sleep. It's designed to get everyone on board to have your work at home, to have activities for the people to do, because rest is one of the biggest components. I also have another package that is a transition into spirit package. And that is communicating with your pet to discover if they're ready and what their needs may be to fulfill their lifetime in this journey together. So from there, we can create whatever package is necessary with all of these different components to create success and balance.
Sounds amazing. You've got a lot of great tools there. Is there anything, just maybe some quick tidbits around signs or signals? Like, when do people know, hey, that's a really good idea that I should maybe check in with Marcie and, you know, have my pet get connected and have you be the bridge that can communicate with them? I mean, some people just, you know, go on forever and be like, oh, that's just, you know, the way my dog is. And so what are some quick pointers or signs that may indicate, hey, my pet really would love to have some support from somebody that can be that bridge and get us to the next level of our relationship?
Sure, great question. Some certain signs are increased aggression, hyperactivity or hypervigilance, guarding or protecting the property. That could be for cats or dogs, actually. Inappropriate urination in locations, shutting down, not choosing to engage in the family unit, whether that be with humans or other pets in the family. Slowing down and biting or licking parts of their body are indications of pain. If they are suddenly really sensitive to light, that could be a sign and a signal of head pain, headaches that could be coming from a different place. And certainly if you start to see a behavior that you've never seen before, and it's happening, you know, daily or weekly, and it is harmful emotionally or physically to the pet, other pets in the house, or the human family, it's a good time to check in and just find out what's going on, because the sooner we catch it, the sooner we can find a solution and it won't become a habit.
You do some really unique and profound work. You know, thank you for what you do. Can you tell us a little bit about what some of the influences were in your life that led you into animal communication and starting this business?
Sure. When I was a child, I used to run away from home all the time. And I lived in a rural area, and there was a goat farm down the railroad tracks. And I used to go down there, and I used to talk with the goats and put my hands on the goats. And I would come back home, and sometimes my German Shepherd would haul me back by my shirt and drag me home. And it would always be with a number of goats. And my mother would get so angry. So I started going and playing in different fields and different areas. And then there would be squirrels coming and deer coming. And so that's kind of when it started. I didn't really understand what was going on. And I thought I was normal, or, you know, societally normal. And then when I was in my early 20s, I had a cat who was very, very old. He was like 22, I think. And I would put my hands on him because I knew that I could alleviate anxiety and pain. And he started pushing my hand around his body with his nose. And that's when I understood, or learned to understand, the energetic meridian systems. So he taught me how to develop it further. And then I decided, well, this is a thing. And so I started reading, you know, people in the field, Penelope Smith, and some wonderful people. But I was kind of busy with my life in my 20s and exploring, you know, cities and different things. And then I found myself with 5 animals, 2 dogs and 3 cats, and they were all elderly. And they were all failing in some way, shape, or form. And I wasn't satisfied with the Western medication protocol. I was looking to find them for more relief that involved their thoughts and their emotions, as well as their physical and their spiritual, because, you know, they're spirits too. We all have a journey here. And since I was not able to really find anything, I set out to educate myself. And I did that all the way through hospice with most of them. And I ended up with all these certifications and degrees. And I felt like, you know, to honor them and their pain and the solutions we found, I feel like I must. It's my responsibility to share this with the world.
It's amazing. Thank you
Thank you.
for doing that and for being vulnerable and sharing, you know, that aspect. I know it's for all of us, I think, you know, our pets are just extensions of our hearts. And to go through that deep process with them really takes you to the next level of your own humanity. So you said a little bit about, you know, you've read Penelope Smith and those kinds of things, and it sounds like your experience has really been the catalyst. And is there other ways that you can continue to grow and learn during you know, this epic opportunity with pets?
Sure. Yeah. I do continuing education classes with the teachers that I've gotten my certifications from. And they all have Facebook groups for other colleagues of mine that they have trained. I read their blogs, I read their books, and we have workshops. So I'm typically almost always taking a class. Almost always.
And what avenues do you use to communicate with your clients and educate them? Because I can imagine that some people, they love their pets very much, and yet they might not understand that, you know, these are conscious beings who have emotions. And so what are some of the ways that you reach out and you're able to educate your audience?
That's a great question. I have a blog on my website, marciedraheim.com. And a lot of the beginning blogs were about just the hands-on experience I had with my own animals. It goes into post-surgical care. It goes into, oh no, I've adopted someone and they don't fit in my home and family, different things like that. And then I'll have a session with a client and that'll bring up a new blog idea. So there's a plethora of information there to read. I post them on Facebook also. I'm on Instagram. And I have a really neat thing that I'm going to begin to expand. It's called the Bear Chronicles, Treasures from the Trail. And it is, they are a series of conversations I've had with my own dog from the trail when we're hiking. And they're mostly on Facebook, but I'm moving them over to Blogspot. And he has a whole bunch of ideas for, you know, humanity and kind of some really good ideas of how we should maybe prioritize our world and our habits and our choices. So for now, that's my biggest arena to connect. I am looking into moving into some video teaching, using my dog as a hands-on assistant, I guess. I'm going to start off with energy management, which is, you know, your vibration, your emotions, your thoughts, how your physical body feels to you, and go into deep breathing with your pet, meditation with your pet. And I also involve in that hypnotic journeys. I'm a certified hypnotherapist long ago when I worked with people. And with that, we can do some nifty hypnotic tricks with anchoring, which is to create a specific touch, almost like a mudra, and, you know, to anchor in a relaxed mode, if that's what you're searching for. So when you're out in the world and you're not feeling that way, you can go back to your hypnotic anchor and it'll be a sign and a signal to your body to lower your heart rate, lower your breathing and your blood pressure, and get you back to a more balanced state.
Amazing.
It sounds so fascinating. And, you know, we have so much to learn from our pets. And I don't know that a lot of people think about sharing their own healing, you know, they might have their own spiritual practice or their own energy practice, but I don't know that they necessarily think about sharing that with their pets. But that sounds like an awesome thing to do.
And it's so useful and practical too, because, you know, like say there's a husband and a wife at home. If one of them gets balanced and the other one is having a crazy day, you know, that is going to meet in the middle somewhere. And it's the same with our pets. You know, we pick up some of their energy. They definitely absorb our energy like sponges. And sometimes they will be mirroring what they perceive to be our behaviors. My best example of this is I worked with a woman who was experiencing some challenges at work, and they were very upsetting to her, and she became angry about some of those. Around that time, her cat began to urinate in the bed, obviously frustrating to her. And so during the session, we discovered that the cat was mirroring this woman's behavior as she came home from work angry. And I'll never forget this. I asked the cat, you know, what can we do to have you, you know, not do this behavior? And the cat said point blank, if she stops coming home pissed off, I will stop pissing in the bed. Right? So we all laughed, and the laughter brought about levity. So this particular woman could hear the message from the kitty without feeling judged or, you know, any things that we humans do. And within a few weeks, she managed her situation, made some different decisions. Her job improved, her work life improved, and the urination all but went away. When she became out of balance in other arenas in her life, if she were to find some urine in her bed, she knew that she had to do her energy management, calm down, and get a little bit more zen.
Awesome. They seem to have, you know, these amazing messages for us, and we don't always hear them. So that would be kind of a follow-up. And just going back to your blogs too, I want to make sure people know they can go there because you're writing these cool ones. I know that a recent one that you wrote was about social distancing. And in this time that we're living in now, and how that, you know, is not only affecting us, but what it's happening, and the things that are coming up for animals around that. So you could maybe speak to that for a moment if you want. But the other thing is, if you could tell everyone a little bit about how animals really do communicate with us. Like, you know, are they talking to us and we're just not hearing it? You know, it's probably like other forms of communication. There's all types, right? There's visual, audio, and then how do you get those messages?
Okay. Yeah. With the blog about social distancing, and there was a blog before that actually just about how they feel this crazy energy of the world. They feel the fear and the panic. And of course, if we come home with that all over us, they really get a good look at that. The blog about social distancing while walking your dog, my dog became very confused because he's very social now, and people were frightened to touch him. They didn't want him near other dogs, even dogs he had met before. And I could see, because he started hanging his head a little bit, you know, and he became kind of forlorn feeling, and he was taking it personally. So I went ahead and, you know, and I still do this every time I see him get a little bit out of whack. We had a lot of conversations at the beginning of this pandemic. I said, you know, there's a big shift going on. I don't have control over it. You don't have control over it. So it's not you. It is, we don't know what's going on. And so now I have him in a position where he will stop and look at me and ask me permission to approach another dog or a human. And I will ask the people, is it okay if Bear comes over there and says hello and whatever? And if it's a yes, he's delighted and he goes over there. And if it's a no, then I just say it has nothing to do with you or me. We're just going to keep walking. So as far as the communication goes, they are very, very visual. So one of the classic things you learn at the beginning of animal communication is never tell your dog, don't get on the couch. Because while you're telling them not to get on the couch, you're picturing them on the couch. So they're like, oh, you want me on the couch? Got it. And you're like, no, that's not what I want. I don't want you on the couch. They also don't know negatives, just like the subconscious mind. You don't want me to, I'm going to do this. Are you happy now? This is great, right? No. So always envision what you would like them to do or how you would like them to be. And then if you sit long enough, you can, with them, you can start to pick up what they're trying to say. And if you start doing the visual thing and even acting out the visual thing, they will pick up on that as a cue and they will start to act out certain things too. I've taught my animals to lick their lips for a yes. It started off with food. Are you hungry? And I waited and bam, there's your food. So you want to reinforce every time that you understand a communication that they're offering. And the other thing about when you're speaking to them, if like, especially about the pandemic is a great example, don't worry if they don't know the words. They can pick up words quickly with repetition, but they're going to feel it coming from you. So even if you're panicked or you had, you know, a crazy weird time at the grocery store or wherever, and you're telling them about it, focus on the, I feel that, but we're going to do this. And they'll feel it coming from you.
I'm just curious, you know, as far as what we do with the magazine, you know, our mission, of course, is to raise consciousness. And a lot of times in spiritual circles, people will talk about like the shift in energy in the planet and children. And I'm curious, like, what your perspective is the same thing happening with animals? Just from my own experience, like watching animals, watching television, for example, like that was not something I noticed my pets doing when I was a child, but they just seem so much more in tune, intelligent, really just, so I'm wondering what you think. Are they coming in vibrating at a higher level too?
I think they are. And I think some of this energy too is overwhelming for some of them. There's been a high number of cases of animals choosing to transition out of their lifetime at this time. But I think they are. I think this is happening globally, including them. I think that they have to be involved because it's such a change in vibration. And I think also humans are starting to, like, whether we want to or not, individually or collectively, open our minds more to different possibilities. We have to. And I think part of doing that, we are able to recognize a little bit more of how in tune they are and how in tune they are with us specifically and just with the human race. But I think, yeah, I think they're experiencing some ascension challenges or symptoms. I know my dog has been really quite a bit more tired after the same levels of activity and a little bit grouchy here and there, a little bit of an attitude and stuff. And I think, yeah, he's growing and evolving. And I've noticed also that like his heart space has really started to open up even more. He's a rescue. He was homeless for years and years before volunteers could catch him. He was pretty shut down when I got him. And then he had ended up in kind of a neutral place, you know, he'd kind of interact, sort of not interact. And then during this pandemic situation, he's going up to other dogs. He's going up to people. He's found people sitting on the curb with their head in their hands. And he's gone up to them and interacted with them until I've seen them laugh. I've seen them cry. That's my best answer. They've got to be experiencing it.
Yeah, it's amazing that they can just, you know, open our heart space in a second.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Really wonderful. How do you feel that the values and mission of your business align with, you know, the mission of EPIC, educating and empowering and inspiring?
I think they are right in line. That's why I love what I do, because there's definitely a component of education just to understand how animals operate, how they experience their emotions, their thoughts, trauma, past trauma, current trauma, whatever it is. And there's education also for the animal about the person sometimes in the session, you know, mommy may not have time for you because she's got this big work project right now. That's why everything changed. You know, it's temporary, you know, because it is communication and natural dialogue. And then I get so excited when we come to a solution, even if it's just the first step of a solution, and I can feel the pet parent sigh in relief and then get inspired. I have a plan. I can enact it. I can change this, you know. And then as far as the community portion, a family is a mini community. So if it makes everyone, you know, more balanced, happier, add the fun factor back again, you know, I mean, that really makes all of their ties within that family bond better, tighter, more trust is built. For example, I had a client whose dog had past trauma and loved to hike, but would have triggers that would hit his fear buttons, and he would run straight back to the car, not want to do anything. And in working through a few sessions, we got some tools and some things in place. So now their hikes are longer with a little bit of patience and enacting these solutions. Their hikes are longer. The human is able to read the signs and signals of the fear starting in, and he'll stop the hike and, you know, they'll end it there to keep that in the bank account of success. I'm always trying to really work with people to build up their animal's bank account of success. And I know we've been talking mostly dogs today, but it applies to cats and horses and rodents and birds and hedgehogs. I've worked with them all, and it's the same thing. I mean, they have different personalities, but it's the same thing.
Yep, we might have to have a session about keeping the gophers out of the garden here. What you do, it's so rich and it's so varied, and I can imagine that it satisfies you on many, many levels. But can you tell the listeners like what it is that you love the most about what you do?
You know, for me, it's really the relief factor. That's where I started with it as a kid and with my own animals. And their relief is so powerful, whether it be relief from emotional pain or physical pain. It just like levels the playing field, so to speak, and makes anything a possibility at that point. Whereas before, almost nothing was a possibility. So it creates so much freedom and wonder, and it just creates an environment under which a life can actually be lived the way it's supposed to be, with purpose and with joy. And yeah, I really like that.
It's awesome.
Beautiful.
If you could go back in time, what would your younger self say to you now? What advice would you give yourself?
You can do it. Keep doing it. You're not that weird. Not that weird. And it will be it'll be a very wonderful experience for you one day, you know, because for a period of time I got into the whole perfectionism thing, and I didn't want to make any mistakes, and you know, it was a whole growing, you know, process and stuff. But I would say things to myself like that to shorten that phase and just accept it, roll with it, and you know, make some magic happen quicker than later.
So advice to the younger self. So now let's do the opposite. Let's fast forward 5 or 10 years. And from that point, looking back, what do you imagine that your biggest achievement is, or your biggest contribution to this community or to just humanity in general?
I think it's going to be connection and volume of resources. I'm continuing to write blogs that'll continue. I have a couple book ideas in my mind that I'd like to do. And I would like to have lots of online resources for people to easily go and, you know, just type, okay, my cat is doing this, my ferret is doing that, and just bam, pull up something that is pertinent that'll give them a place to go to. I'm already thinking about beginning animal communication classes for people. So by that time, I'm hoping there'll be a slew of other animal communicators out there, and just have to make it be a lot more available and acceptable. And so people know it's around, they know it's available, and then when they go to Google it, there's a whole bunch of people that they can call or text or email and find some help. So I hope it just gets to be a much larger and more accepted resource.
Is there any last things that you'd like to share with the listeners, and then also just give us all the ways people can connect with you, your website, all the information, contact information you'd like to share?
Okay. I think what I would first say is don't give up. Don't ever give up. Because there's almost always a solution, you know, of some kind. And it's just a matter of figuring out what that is. And also, one really good trick is to put yourself in the position of the animal. How would you feel if XYZ happened? Could you conceive of yourself doing XYZ behavior that they're doing? You know, so if there's a little bit more understanding and compassion, then that will hopefully breed patience and empathy, and for themselves, for the animals, as well as for themselves, the pet people. Don't beat yourself up if, you know, you couldn't figure it out before, or maybe both parties engaged in behaviors that were not very healthy and perpetuated the problem. That's okay. We can start from right here. We can always begin anew. So I can be found at marciedraheim.com, and my phone number's on there, my email's on there. I can also be found on Facebook and Instagram, and also I think it's called Pet Masters. petmasters.com. And that's a great organization that lists holistic animal practitioners from a varied and, you know, thorough, detailed list of possibilities: body work, acupuncture, chiropractic, all kinds of stuff.
Lori, any other questions for Marcie?
Yeah, actually, you know, when you said, oh, you know, my cat's doing this, my ferret's doing that, it made me wonder about sort of cross species. Like, do you find similar things with dogs, cats, ferrets? as far as like what they're telling you? Or is it very species dependent or?
You know, I would say the way it's exhibited is species dependent. But they all have a tendency to feel the same stuff, you know, whatever feelings we're capable of feeling, they can feel them. But, you know, cats, they definitely have that scratching, urination on things, tendency to exhibit, I don't like this, you know, where, you know, dogs tend to do other things. Dogs seem to come back to the table for negotiation a little bit easier, as do horses and burros. You know, when you get into the snakes and some of the rodents, they're like, I don't feel like I have to do that. You better sweeten the pot a little bit. You know, you have to kind of give a little bit more in some species than others.
Do you also find that, or, you know, have you had this experience? I mean, when there's a dog and cat sibling and things like, is the entire animal kingdom basically having conversations amongst themselves and we're just like, we have no clue that they're talking to each other while we're walking the trail, or that, you know, the dog and cat are going, wow, do you see what they're doing now? And they're having this whole conversation about us, you know? Or, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm convinced it's happening. Yeah, I'll walk in the room and find my dog and my cat, like, you know, I'll be like, oh, what are they talking about now? Right?
Sure.
And just when I was looking out the window from my desk over the past few weeks, I saw this beautiful dove fly into the tree, you know, and Bear would be out there and he'd look up at him, and sometimes he'd go out there and wait for him. And I didn't tune into this. I was just observing it. And I was like, oh, they must be friends. No, Bear was setting them up. And he waited to try to, you know, hunt him. He couldn't. He's not that fast. He was not able to do it. But, you know, there was a whole dynamic there that I didn't tune into, and it was completely different. But one of the biggest things I've noticed in my lifetime was during the 416 fire. I observed groupings of birds fly from trees to trees, and I know that they were communicating with other birds, telling them, I believe, about the shifting winds and the smoke and the fire. And I would just sit outside if the smoke wasn't too thick and watch them go around, and then I'd see everybody start to kind of migrate in a similar direction. So that is, I think, a really good example of that. So again, they're concerned like we are, you know, they have fun, they like to hunt, they like, you know, safety and community and stuff like that. Very interesting.
Great. Well, we appreciate your time and your wisdom and expertise, and for coming on these epic expert interviews. So everyone that's listening, please check out Marcie's information. It's marciedraheim.com. And if you want more information on EPIC, Empowering People, Inspiring Community, you can go to epicmag.org and follow us to learn more through these interviews. So thank you again, and we're grateful to have you on.
It was an honor. Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everyone. Namaste.